I guess I don't really like the tone of your question.
We are the Crawfords. We have 6 kids and are hiking the Appalachian Trail, a 2,200-mile hike from Georgia to Maine. We don't know if we can finish it, but we are doing it together.
All right, it is good to be back. We are coming back after 3 days of not filming. Quick little updates about that time period. We did back-to-back 20-mile days for the first time ever. That was tough. I think maybe a little too tough. Mm-hmm. We did it to make it to a cool hostel, and I think I'm glad we did it, but I don't think we're quite ready to plan that as our regular thing yet. Also, this funny thing happened where, do you guys remember Standing Bear Hostel?
It's like a little mini Walmart in here.
We went there and we left, and then a couple weeks later, we're like, something about that place seemed familiar. And then we had remembered that we had mailed ourselves a package there, which we totally forgot to pick up, which sucks because the whole reason why you mail yourself stuff is oftentimes to save money. And then when you forget those packages, it like defeats the whole purpose. Anyways, right after that, someone contacted us. His name was Arnold, and he said, hey, I'm a writer and I want to do an article on you guys. And by the way, my sister owns Standing Bear Hostel, which was great because we were like thinking, what are the chances that these hippies will actually, we can get them to send us our package.
It's like a little mini Walmart in here.
Sunday night, he did an interview with us and he brought us our package. This interview he's going to publish on this website, and if it is finished, I will put the link below. Finally, in terms of updates, when we were coming off the trail, it was like really crazy. We've made a few trail friends, and one in particular, his name's Bill. He goes by Hops.
On to Maine.
And he's taken a liking to our family, and we've taken a liking to him. And he starts texting me. He knew that our family needed to get sized for new shoes. And he goes, oh, hey, I know this guy that works at this running store, and I can hook you up with him. And the town was like 30 minutes away, and he's like, oh yeah, I can get you a ride to his, there, you know, which is not easy for a family. Like, you have to like get a van or 2 cars. He's like, oh, and by the way, if you need a place to stay, you can do that. So I was like, it's amazing. We're like not even doing anything. We're like walking. I never even asked for help. And all this help is coming that we never even would have imagined to ask for.
Yeah.
So our family did get sized for shoes. And then we stayed a night at Angel's Rest Hostel yesterday and took a 0 day.
We were trying to figure out, do we take a half day or a full day? And the weather was looking crummy. We knew our friend Hops was over at this other house that they invited us if we wanted to stay. And it just felt like, why the heck not would we do that? I mean, we've been needing a 0 day, and I think that it was a good,
yeah, it was our,
turns out that was actually a really good choice.
It was our first attempt at Shabbat. So we came over, they made us this amazing salmon dinner.
Yeah, so good.
We had wine and beer and salmon and fresh fruit cobbler. And then we went to bed.
We went to bed, and in the middle of the night, Seven wakes us up and tells us that he threw up. And we're thinking, okay, that's a bummer. Hopefully he'll be better tomorrow.
Shake it off.
Shake it off. He kind of was. And then Filia is telling me, oh, I'm having diarrhea.
This is now in the morning.
In the morning. Again, I'm like, okay, maybe she'll be all right.
Shake it off.
Finally, the 2-year-old throws up, and both Ben and I are like
during breakfast. And this is like 45 minutes before we're leaving for trail.
It took 3 kids.
And the weather is sucky. Like, it's like raining all day.
And it took 3 kids for us to finally be like, yeah, I think we need to take another 0, which is hard but amazing that we're at this place.
With these people we'd never met.
Yeah, being able to take another 0, it's like super restful here. They're so giving. So if there was any time it should happen, it would be here. But it's hard because I have in my mind, oh, we there's these people that we've been traveling with and now we're never going to see them again. And you just have this like pressure, this internal pressure of like, oh, I just gotta, we're behind somehow, which is like so arbitrary, you know, behind from what? Like, who's putting that on me? Like, no one. Anyways, that's a hard thing. But
it's only one day, but it feels, because it wasn't like our plan, it feels like, yeah, we're behind.
It's messing everything up.
And I think once we accepted that we can't change our kids being sick, and then I think once we saw like, oh, these people, like even Bill was gonna hike with us today, and he was like, don't worry about it. And this family is like, don't worry about it. And I realized a lot of the pressure is coming from inside of us, not outside. You know, no one's forcing us to finish the trail. No one's kicking us out of their house. No one's like in a rush besides us.
And I even feel humbled because Bill, you know, I think he's a little faster than our family, and he totally didn't need to take another 0, but he like is just because he wants to maybe be around us or something. And I don't know, that helped me realize like, oh, he's not concerned about this whole thing, you know.
So kids are taking naps in there, Rainier's sleeping, a neighbor brought over a bunch of board games, Cammy and I are drinking coffee, we went to the grocery store.
Panera. Oh, so good.
Yeah, it was good. But there's been some challenges here too. Like when we went to the grocery store to pick up Graders, which is our favorite brand of ice cream, because there was a Kroger, which is our home grocery store, there was only 4 flavors of ice cream there, which is challenging because I like the coconut chip and they didn't even have it. It's like salted caramel and just like, I don't know, so it's hard. Then you got put on Patagonia timeout.
I know, I kept putting in the wrong password and they put me on a 2-hour timeout and I'm like, I need to order this.
So we've had our challenges today, but we're hoping to get back to the trail tomorrow. The final thing we wanted to do today, since we don't have anything to film in terms of hiking, is to answer a question that we got a while ago on our YouTube channel. And I think it's a really good question. It's from a guy named Dave. And he says, I just wonder what your comment or excuse will be if one of your kids gets really hurt or lost or killed. Do you think the reward is good enough to warrant the danger? Danger, yes. If you think there's none, you have no clue to what you're gonna blah, blah, blah. I wish all hikers well and the best of luck, but some of your kids are just too young. This is a question that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, and actually almost 0 time thinking about it on this trip. But on previous trips that we've done, I've thought and pondered this question a lot as I'm walking along and looking over these cliffs or wondering, what if a kid dies?
What helps me is there's a belief system that we both have in that, first of all, we believe that we're doing what we should be doing. Second of all, if one of our kids dies or gets hurt hiking on these mountains, it's actually not, our belief is that it's not as dangerous as it would be driving in a car. I think it's less criticized if that happened because it's an abnormal way to die. But I think I would have to fall back on those 2 beliefs. If one of my kids got hurt or died, I'd have to fall back on, well, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I actually don't think I put them in more danger than everyday life driving down the freeway.
And I think when you say believe we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we believe it's the best form of parenting and raising we can do for our children now. So to answer your question, yes, we do think it's worth it. Of course we do. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. And I don't...
But we're also not completely oblivious to the real dangers of hiking in the wilderness, or hiking on cliffs,
or driving in cars, or living. And this is where I guess I don't really like the tone of your question, because you say, what would your comment or excuse be? And I don't feel like we need an excuse. Kids die, people die, and accidents happen. And I think just because something happens, it doesn't mean that you're reckless or a poor parent. And on the flip side, just because something doesn't happen doesn't mean you're a great parent either. And this is something I learned, you know, back in my professional gambling days of playing blackjack, is you can't just establish whether something was right or wrong decision based upon one outcome. We would have to ask the question, what if this were to happen a million times? Then would I regret it or be happy with it? And the reality is, when you're out here, a kid could die, and you feel it and you see it, you know? We feel so comfortable in cars. I mean, we keep on using that example, but anytime you're driving more than 50 miles per hour, you are 1/10 of a second away from dying. I mean, every which way. It could happen so quick and so easily. Far more dangerous than, you know, the few cliffs we come across out here, the occasional bear that's like afraid of humans anyways. I mean, I don't even want to get into that, but.
And I feel like this question is coming from the standpoint that safety should be your top priority. End of question. And safety is definitely a priority of Ben and I's. Like, we want our kids to be safe, but there are actually other priorities that I think go above that, which is a really controversial thing to say in our society, because safety is like a god in America. It's like its own religion, yeah. Yeah, and I know we don't try not to get too preachy here, but like ultimately, like I actually trust that God is gonna like take care of our kids, and I've had those moments where we've lost our kids or didn't know exactly where they were, and I was like, okay, actually I'm completely helpless at this point. Like, God, can you please take care of this kid, because you know exactly where they are and what they need.
But just because something happens, you know, doesn't mean you have to regret it either. And I feel like, you know, we've thought about kids dying, and if a kid died, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen to us, I think. You know, it'd be the most tragic thing. But that doesn't mean we'd say, okay, we're never camping again, or camping is a mistake, or going outside is a mistake.
Yeah.
And no one does that with cars either. Car accidents happen, but people don't say, well, I'll never drive again. You know, because it's not a good way to make a decision always just from looking at one example from the past. You have to decide, hey, is there a history that we have of making reckless decisions where the negatives always outweigh the positives, or consistently outweigh the positives? And yeah, there's some risk here, but the reward is so high that we've decided it's worth it. And even if a kid dies or gets hurt, while we would grieve and mourn that, I don't think we would toss out our entire lifestyle of decision making for the last 25 years that got us to this point.
I'm sure it would cause us to reevaluate at least.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it would just mean like, you know, if this happens, then we're done here.
So thanks for at least verbalizing that and asking the question.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people have that same question and belief.
And he says, wish you guys the best of luck, which actually we don't believe in luck. I mean, it's kind of weird because on the one hand, I do believe in skill and preparation, but like Cammie said, we also do believe, I mean, I guess luck is a religion, but we actually believe there is a God that cares about us, that is looking out for us. And he does allow bad things to happen. But we also believe there is a supernatural world out there. I just think that's such a hotbed question. I think there's probably a lot of parents that are at home that want to do things with their kids, but I know for me, a lot of times I felt like I shouldn't because of how much flack I would get if I got caught with my pants down. Yeah, because if you get in a car accident, no one says like, you know, except for the Amish, no one says like, hey, did you think that maybe you shouldn't be in a 2-ton piece of...
Unless they weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah, 2-ton piece of metal going 60 miles an hour. Like, no one asked that. Yeah. It's just like, oh, yeah, of course, that's what we do.
If your kid got hit in the head with like a baseball and had like brain damage.
Because they're in like Little League.
They wouldn't be like, oh, your kid shouldn't have been in sports. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's too
But
bad.
if you're in the woods and a boulder falls on you, people be like, yup.
Shouldn't have been in the woods.
They were asking for it. And it's a way of publicly shaming people because you're just doing something a little bit different. It's not necessarily more dangerous, but it's not understood. Anyways, my hat's off to you parents that are facing that type of dilemma. But we feel like we have the freedom to be wrong, which means like even if we are wrong, like, and maybe what we're doing is completely reckless, like at the end of the day, God doesn't frown upon you and shame you the way some people do.
Or you do that to yourself.
And it's even like okay to make mistakes, and I hope we never lose a child, but I know that that fear can keep a lot of people from trying anything new sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are here. We are thinking about taking a bath this afternoon.
Luxury.
I know. To go along with our ice cream, even though we only have 2 flavors.
Eat ice cream while taking a bath?
Dang, that'd be a lot. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We really hope to be out on the trail tomorrow. And we'll see you though.
Strangers in her house. Like for one night, she doesn't, she's just a helper. She takes them places.
You should read.
Yeah.
Did you read the script
How
about
come
yourself?
we
I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, because sometimes like reading about it, because it's not that's only one test. There's like instinct.